And welcome to the show. I am excited. We got a legend in the building, man. This is Mr. Brian Porter. Yeah, I know a lot of people know him, the biggest in the game know him, but I want to introduce him to my channel, man. How you doing today, sir?
The sound.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Derek, I lost my sound. Uh-oh.
Oh, wow. Hold on, okay? Let me remove you and add you back. Can you hear me now? Oh, man, technical difficulties.
Derek, I lost my sound, bro.
Leave and come back. Hold on, let me leave. All right, can you hear me now, boss?
Now I can, yeah. Now I got you. Yep.
Okay, now you can. Excellent, man. Shout out to Samson Riviera, man. Shout out to Doug Monstars, man. Brian has his own bar. Okay, welcome to the show, man. This dude is big in the game. We're gonna get into that, but first off, I want to talk, man, reptiles. Why reptiles? What made you just jump into the hobby?
The way it all really started, you want to go back to when you want to go way back to the beginning? So I grew up on a street that had a creek that ran through the street. Under the street, it was a bridge, and there was a creek, and it ran past a little lake near the house. And it was like the movie Stand By Me back in the day. Me and all my little buddies running around the woods and catching frogs and turtles. We didn't really have snakes. I grew up in Tinley Park, where the show is at. That's my hometown. And so there was really not much in the way of snakes. You catch a garter every now and then, but it was mostly frogs, turtles, crayfish, anything that was in the creek. A lot of snapping turtles, and kind of got fascinated then.
Okay, that's excellent. Now, do you remember the first reptile that just really did it for you?
Well, that fast forwards a little bit. That goes all the way to 1990, and I wandered into a place in Escondido, California called Reptile Haven, which was owned by Chris Estep, who is one of the godfathers of reptile stores. I mean, I would assume when he owned Reptile Haven, it was probably one of three in the country: East Bay Vivarium, Reptile Haven, and I'm not even sure what else would have been there. Probably was a couple in New York, maybe one in New York, a couple more, maybe a couple in Florida, but that was about it. And I wandered in there while I was in the Marine Corps and was just blown away. He had albino Burmese pythons, 6-foot iguanas, 3-foot water dragons, just amazing stuff. Big sulcata tortoises. For a kid from Chicago, it was just mind blowing.
Right. You have your own reptile store, man. Talk to me about the Chicago Reptile House, man. How did that come about?
So straight back to Reptile Haven. So of course I couldn't stop going to the place. In the Marine Corps I was in helicopters, so I had a lot of time to fuck off and not have to be doing Marine Corps shit. And so anytime that I wasn't having to do Marine Corps stuff, I was out of Reptile Haven, just being a nuisance, hanging out, just couldn't get out of there. And Chris, the owner of it, recognized that and started having me help customers as I was hanging out. I wasn't getting paid. I was just hanging out there at the shop. He's like, hey, help those people, carry this out, do this, do that, which I was glad to do. And basically started hanging out there. And I said to him, I go, hey, man, I'm opening up one of these in Chicago when I get out. And in the beginning, he was like, yeah, whatever. 3 years of me saying all that and doing that, he realized it was for real,
Right. So he kind of mentored you in the pet game. He's like, hey, this is the ins and outs. And then from there, you started your own business.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going up to LA Reptile, which for anybody that, for those of you that do, that are in the industry, who that is. That's the probably top 2 importers in the world, right? There's LA Reptile, Chris and Gene up there in LA, they were bringing in everything, and it was an amazing place to be. And Chris Estep's best friend was Philippe DeVogely. Once again, another giant name. Bob Mayu was in and out of the store. San Diego Zoo was in and out of the store trading stuff, bringing in baby chondros. I mean, it was, if there was a store to be at, it couldn't get any better than what I was seeing and what I was learning and picking up on.
Right. Now, with your reptile store, talk to me about some of the stuff you got available in your store personally.
So we breed ball pythons. That's the one thing that we do, that we breed. We started with albino boas. We spent like 50 grand, never made one penny. That just wasn't a good deal, man. We had 7 albinos and could never produce a single. We just could not get those boas to go. It was back in the days of IBD and all the stuff that was going on, and nothing but problems. So we said, hey, let's just skip the whole breeding thing, get out of it. Well, then the ball python game just got red hot. So we jumped in very late in the game. We do a little bit. We produce about, maybe 80 to 85 clutches a year, sell all that retail right through the store. We don't ship really. Occasionally I'll ship for somebody that wants something, but it's not something I enjoy doing. I'd rather just sell them right through the store. And then obviously through NARBC at the Tinley Park show.
Right.
And obviously tons of imported stuff at the shop. We bring in everything, from bringing stuff from, through the importers, the regular channels, a lot of captive born stuff, more and more every year, it seems like. And we're busy, man. I also own, attached to the Reptile store, is a saltwater fish shop and a bird store.
Right.
So we do maintenance. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I didn't want to interrupt you now.
You're good.
That's just amazing, man. Everybody in the chat, man, if you don't know, this is a legend in the game, and he's one of the hardest working, man. So he's got the Chicago Reptile House, fish and coral shop. And he the big dog at the NARBC, man. Like, this is a hard-working man. I'm
a grinder. I tell all of you out there, like, if you watch all these different podcasts and you're like, I want to be that guy, I want to be like that guy, well, then grind. That's all you got to do. If you grind and work hard, and I don't care what industry you're in, and even at your regular job or whatever it is that you want to do, you want to open up a bar, whatever it is you want to do, you got to grind. And if you grind, I don't care who you are. If you grind harder than everybody else, you will make it and you will do what you want to do.
Right. Now, with you being so big in the hobby, I want to know, what is your personal collection look like? What's some of the stuff you keeping at the house?
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing. You keeping everything at the shop?
I do. I keep all the ball pythons at the shop. That's really, I do a lot of stuff. I've got other businesses that I'm somewhat involved in, not to the extent of Chicago Reptile or NARBC, nothing like that. Chicago Reptile takes up, 90% of my time. NARBC takes up 10% of my time, or 9%, let's say, and there's 1% that I do a couple other little kind of hobby business things. And but just for fun, I guess. I enjoy building businesses. It's been a fun thing to me. I dabble in some other stuff. But Chicago Reptile is where where you find me, 5 days a week grinding. I have a partner there in the shop, a guy I was in the Marine Corps with, Jeff Ladico, who co-owns the shop with me. And between the two of us, we're always there.
Right. And something that's totally understandable, because I had Brian Barczyk on the channel, and he's the same way. You would think, like, this is one of the biggest in the hobby. Sure. You would think that he has animals at home, but he's like, look, I spend so much time at work. I don't keep anything at home. They get the best care when I'm at work because I'm there so much. You're the same way.
100%. Brian's a good buddy of mine. We actually are getting together a couple weeks from now to start working on a little project together. So some big news coming out probably in the next month or so. But yeah, Brian's a grinder, man. I've been up there, and I showed up to do the podcast, and him and his guys are in there filming like nonstop till late at night, boom, all of a sudden, then we started doing stuff. The podcast ends, like, end of the day. He's like, at that point, he's probably at about a 15-hour day. He headed home. I went back to, the hotel back in the morning, get back over there, and they're grinding again right away in the mornings, filming again. And it's just a nonstop grind. It's what you have to do to be successful. You look at anybody that's successful, Joe Rogan, all those guys, they grind, man, nonstop. And that's really what it takes.
Right. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. If you feel like it's too controversial, you don't have to ask it. But everybody in the – he said, I'm going to answer. But everybody in the hobby, and I just posted this on my YouTube community feed, everybody in the hobby has seen this fiasco in North Carolina with the loose cobra getting out and the guy not reporting it. Now, they just sentenced him. And what they sentenced him to was 1 year probation, to where he can't keep any snakes and they'll pop up at his house. They took all his snakes and gave him a $13,000 fine. Now, do you think that's sufficient for what he did?
No, I don't, because if you look at the damage that he's done to all of us, when you do that stuff, you have a responsibility. I don't keep venomous. I have no problem with people keeping venomous, but if you do, it's no different than if you had, I'm a gun guy, I got a lot of guns. If my guns were to slide out of my house on their own because of neglect on my part and start just causing havoc, right? I'm responsible 100% for that happening. That's obviously not going to happen, but you get my drift. My point is, if you're going to keep that stuff, well, then you got to be just triple redundancy caging and house. I mean, it should never get out of a house. If it gets out of a cage and it's then in your house, it should never get out of a cage even. Let's be honest. It just shouldn't. There's no excuses for that. We all pay the price for that. People who keep harmless snakes are going to pay for that. I'm super, super for anybody that does that and allows something like that to happen. The harshest of harsh penalties possible. I have no problem with it.
Right. Now, the senator, I don't know if it's a senator or the city councilman, but one of the lawmakers in North Carolina, I just posted this on my YouTube too. He's posting a good question, and I'm like, you actually have to think about that to answer it. The lawmaker posed the question. He said, the only question I want to know from the reptile community is, explain to me the benefit of private keepers keeping venomous, and how does that benefit outweigh the public safety?
I don't think that question's valid, because I don't think what people do needs to benefit anyone but themselves. That's why this country is the way it is, and the country we live in, and what I in the Marine Corps fought for. And you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things that, like, I don't know why the fuck you'd want to do it. I don't want to keep venomous. Venomous terrifies the shit out of me. When I go to Bob Askew, my partner with NARBC, I go down to his, he's got a museum. He's got the largest the largest rattlesnake collection in the world, probably. And it terrifies the shit out of me just being in the back room. He's opening up stuff, and I'm like freaking out. It's not for me. But I also understand that's his passion. He's very good about it. He's safe about it. There's no issues with him having it. So why am I going to, because I don't have a benefit? That's like everything. Why does a car need to be able to go above 75 miles an hour? Right?
That's true. Because it's unsafe and something can happen. That's absolutely true.
And you could do this with a million different things. You know what I mean? It's just, you can't legislate stupid. You know what I mean? And the problem is, you get people that are careless and are going to allow things to happen. I'm all for, whether it's a gun, a snake, whatever it may be, harsh penalties. When you do the crime, harsh penalties. Harsh.
Right.
Very harsh. Right. I'm all about harsh. Capital punishment, I'm all for it. All kinds of things like that. So you let people do things, and when they screw up, you slam them.
Right. I agree with you, man. Now,
you don't take it away from everybody who's law-abiding, intelligent, does what they're supposed to do. That's my thing.
I love that, man. That's what America is about. I don't care what he's doing, as long as it don't affect me. Do what you want, Correct. You free.
Correct. And if you do stuff that affects me, you should be harshly punished for it.
I love that answer, man. You there, man. I love that. We here. Yep. Now.
Yeah. If you're gonna fuck my shit up, you should get fucked up.
I love that, man. Now, everybody in the chat, man. Now this is what I really want to talk about, man. I want to talk about the NARBC and the origin, man. How did this show just come about, man?
So Bob and I do a show in Indianapolis together for Brian Hahn. He did he was doing like a once a year kind of big show down there, in addition to his small show that he runs monthly. And that's where we met. Bob and I met, and we was kind of back in the show circuit days. I was doing every month. I was doing the small Indianapolis show and the small Don Hamper show in Ohio. And it was a circuit because they were always on the same weekend. You could do one on Saturday, one on Sunday, and then head home. I met Bob, and we were driving along, and I said, hey, man, we were going to go to North Carolina the following weekend. He goes, there's a show in North Carolina. It was in that Coliseum down there. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Somewhere near one of the universities. It was in like a round, old Coliseum-style building, North Carolina.
Okay.
Anyway, we were heading down there, and as we drove past what was a patch of grass and dirt that the machines were moving dirt around on, I said, you see that over there? I said, that's going to be a convention center. I said, we should do a big show, super classy, carpeted floors, pipe and drape, the whole thing. And he's like, I'm in for that. And that was it. We partnered up, and that was like the idea of it. At least that's how it started. And then we just went from there and, made it happen. We had about a 13-month planning phase and getting ready for it before the first one came off.
Putting in that work, man. I love that.
Yeah. It was a lot of calls, favors to good people. Mark Bell, Brian Barczyk, Peter Call. God, I'm leaving a million people out, from all over. I mean, Snake Keeper. I mean, it was just everybody. We called everybody that we knew and said, hey, man, we're going to do this show. It's going to be huge. Come help us. Let's make this thing amazing. Because really what, shows, it all comes down to it has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with Bob. It has all to do with the vendors. If you have all the baller vendors there, you have a baller show. If you don't, you have shit.
That is hilarious, man. And you have some of the biggest in the game. Like shout out to Kurtwood and Wiz Constrictors. They was actually at one of your last shows, man. And they took pictures. You had Snake Discovery, Justin Kabelka, Gary DeMar, just all of the heavy hitters, man. Just there's my buddy Kurtwood. Shout out to Kurtwood. He was there. You had all of the heavy hitters, man. How does that make you feel that when you throw a show, the biggest of the biggest show up for you?
It's all. I mean, it feels good. I'm not gonna lie to you. Every show promoter wants to feel like they had a good show, a quality show. Not because you're looking to feel good. It's just like it's relief, right? Like it's like going to play a baseball game. You either get creamed or you cream the other team. And if all the vendors are there and they all do well and everybody, it's like, I guess it's like being on an airplane. It either lands safely in Hawaii or you fucking crash in the ocean on the way there. It's one or the other. And so if everybody makes it, meaning everybody does well, and I don't mean every single vendor because that's not up to me. My job is to get the best selection of reptiles with the best mix of vendors and for them to have a ton of people through the door to buy from them. I can't do any more than that. Now their job turns over to have quality animals, good variety, the right animals at the right time, and sell them, at the right price. So when it all comes together, which Tinley pretty much every time comes together beautifully, it's a great feeling, man. And it's good knowing that, the vendors paid money to be there. They came there. They had a great time. Everybody partied, hung out with friends, had great dinners, socialized, bought new animals for their collection from everybody. And then on top of that, made some money, put some money in the bank, and were able to go on with their business and do well and move on and, live to fight another day.
Right. Now, before we keep going, man, can you read that comment? Can you see it?
Let me put my fucking glasses on. Jesus. This is what 50 is, man. I made wifey schedule her C-section until after the Tinley. That is freaking great. I love it. I love it.
That's just your reputation that people is postponing C-sections until after they come to your show, man. That's big.
It's super humbling. I mean, if people don't understand it, like, I'm appreciative. I'm very appreciative of where I am in life. I'm very appreciative of where the show is and where my business is, and the fact that vendors trust me and just support us. I mean, it's a big thing, man. It's a lot of these guys got to remember. Like, I started in 1993, so I get out of the Marine Corps in '93. I open up my shop. I started hitting Orlando for there a couple of years. I don't know how many years there were, and then it switched to Daytona. And I became friends with Peter Call because that's where I bought the albino boas. Pete introduced me to a lot of people, Mark and Kim Bell, and so on and so forth. And Don Hamper, who's passed on now. And some of these guys those are the guys are legends. Those are the guys that started the whole thing and grew it. And Tommy Crutchfield and just all these guys, man, just legends, And I sort of grew up with Oz and, Frank Martin. Brian Barczyk was a little bit before me. A little bit bigger than me, obviously was a huge breeder, a big name and all that. But I grew up with these guys sort of around the same age, and we'd hang out in Daytona. And it's just, it's humbling that, we have the word on the street about the show and the vibe around it. And, I'm on Facebook. I see what's going on around, anytime, Tinley's coming around, there's a countdown that starts at like 300 days. I mean, it's just crazy.
Iconic shit, man. I love it. Now,
yeah,
I gotta put you in the hot seat, and I don't have a drum, so
absolutely.
Hot seat question number 1, man. So all the big dogs in the game. I know a few of them. I've had them on the show. Now we love everybody, But right now, who's your current favorite reptile YouTuber?
You know, that's a tough one. That I'll be honest with you, dead honest, because I'm an honest person, and people will tell, like, one thing about me, man, I will tell you the truth, whether you like it or not. I don't watch any of them.
Hey, that's honest.
I don't. Not because I don't like them. I just, Reptiles consumes the biggest part of my day on the job, right? Whether I'm at the shop or I'm behind the scenes on the computer working stuff. It's just not something I watch. I don't. If you want to switch that to breeder, I'll give you an answer.
Oh, I am. Hey, that's actually one of the next questions. So we're gonna come back to that.
All right.
Now, hot seat question number 2.
Sure.
Lord forbid there was no NARBC. Lord forbid that ever happens, and we love the show. Now, if you needed a job, there was only one job in the world. If you could work at Brian Barczyk's Reptarium, with Jay Brewer, or at Nerd. We love all 3 of them. I talk to all of them all the time. I love them. But where would you work?
You know what's funny is Jay, I knew when I was in the Marine Corps. I didn't know Jay. I knew Prehistoric Pets. I knew his store. Because we would literally jump in my Volkswagen Squareback, me and my partner that owns Chicago Reptile with me, and we would go get bagels and lox and then drive all the way from San Diego up to Fountain Valley to go to Prehistoric Pets because it was a mind-blowing place. To this day, my store included, that store is amazing. His store is just mind-blowing. Kevin I met through Pete early on. I got to know Kev pretty good. Kevin and I are really tight now. Kevin is if I have a problem with my Apple computer, boom, I call Kevin and say, Kevin, this fucking computer's fucking up. This is what it's doing. He's like, all right, kid, this is what you got to do. And he walks me through, fix my computer. Brian, I've done his podcast. I've been friends with Brian for a long time. But the one that I would have the most fun with, the one that needs me the most too, Kevin is Kevin. Kevin needs a partner. Kevin's problem is he is an animal freak who struggles at business because he's such an animal freak. And I don't mean that in a bad way. That's nothing wrong. I would say it to Kevin's face. He needs somebody to rein him in. Like when banana ball pythons were 50 grand, he would not sell them. Everybody in the game was selling them. He's like, oh, I'm holding them back. I was like, Kevin, sell 10 of them. That's 500 grand. You put that towards your building, pay your debt down by 500 grand. You make more next year. You move on. Kevin is a hoarder. He's an animal freak. He needs a partner. He needs a business partner.
And that makes sense, man. I would have
a great time with Kevin too. Kevin and I do a lot of fun stuff together and have a blast. I've been out snake hunting with Kev with some guys. Dave Kaufman was there, and I don't remember who else was there. A couple of the top Venom guys in the U.S. We were up in Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota border, kind of up right in there. And we were catching timbers. Not catching them, but photography. We were looking for that virus, that fungus that they get. And we found it. And it was interesting. But Kevin was free handling timbers, and it was freaking me out. Just completely freaking me out. But you can see when Kev holds snakes, he can do things that a lot of people can't do. He's got this weird, like, Yoda thing with animals.
Some people have it.
He does. There's no question about it.
There are people out there that can do that, man. Now, I want to touch bases on breeding, man. You just said you had like 89 clutches, man. You're breeding out just insane, man. Like, give us some breeding tips, man, for if anybody in the chat is a breeder. Can you give us some new breeder advice for somebody wanting to get into the game?
I can't give you advice on how to breed them. One, because I don't think it's very difficult to breed ball pythons. If you can't breed ball pythons, you should reassess what you do and maybe get out of it. It's not hard. What the hard part is being a Justin Kabilka, who is by far, without question, bar none, the business. Well, I'll slide Oz in on his level as well, as far as knowing what to breed. Justin is the social media king of it. Nobody does it better than he does. Him and Oz consistently know exactly where to take projects better than anybody that I see. There's others out there that are good at it. In my opinion, limited opinion, Justin and Oz if you follow what they do, you're going to do very well. It's amazing how much in advance that they see projects and where to take them and how good they do with them. It blows me away.
Exactly. Now, I love both of them. I've talked to both of them, man. Justin and Oz, man. It's amazing how they have just cornered the market. They selling everything, ain't they?
I cannot imagine where all the cash is hidden because it's insane how good they do. I love that though. See, I'm not, what's that saying? A friend of yours doesn't have to lose for you to win. You know what I mean? Nobody has to lose for you to win. You know what I mean? And watching the success of those guys, that's motivating as hell for me. I love it. I love seeing those guys just killing it because it's proof that to all the haters, to all the guys that are out there trying to say that, the ball python game. How many times do you hear the ball python game is dead? The ball python game is dead. It's over. It's like, are you kidding me? That thing gets hotter every single year.
Right.
And those two are proof of it.
That is one of the questions I ask. I say, with so many new breeders coming into the game, is the market saturated? But their proof is not. They selling out. They can't keep snakes.
No, absolutely. If you're smart like they are and you know what to breed and you go down the right path with your animals and really watch what you're doing and pay, I don't. I'll be honest with you, I'm not that guy. I really don't. But I'm not doing it for the market they're doing it. They're doing it like those guys are the guys that, there's two guys on top of the mountain, then you have like the next rung down the mountain trying to get where they are. So they're buying those expensive products. I'm trying to sell snakes between $80 and $1,000. That's my sweet spot. $80 to $1,000. That's where my stuff flies. I have no problem selling it. I don't have to worry about it. It just goes. You start getting those super expensive projects. It's you got to work like they do to sell it, market it, to show people. It's a different level. It's a different amount of work required to do what they're doing.
Right. Now, with you being the king of expos, man, I gotta ask this, man, and I'm gonna tell a story to lead into the next question, man. So I had Miguel from Always Evolving Pythons on the show. Shout out to him, man. He told me a story, hilarious. I said, Miguel, tell me a crazy experience you had at an expo. And he told me a story. He said one day he was at an expo and a guy came up to him. He's like, "Hey, Miguel, I'm a big fan. Let's after the expo, let's go have some beers." And Miguel's like, "Okay, sure, whatever. I love beer." So they go throw a couple beers back. And after they get done drinking the beer, the guy looks at Miguel and he's like, "Hey, I got a room down the street. Let's go to the room." And Miguel's like, "Hey, whoa, brother. It's not that kind of party." And I hope he don't kill me for telling that story, but it's so funny that he told me that. You said what?
He didn't tell you that was me, right?
Now, I tell you that story to ask you, man, do you have any crazy Reptile Expo stories, man?
Oh, man. God. Man, my power's getting ready to go out here. I'm getting my lights flash. Got lightning outside. Anyway, there's always crazy stuff. Man, Tinley is always crazy. But back in the day, the way that we would do expos, no matter where we were always running around. And Thursday night was always limo, dinner, strip club night. Every time. Always. That was just, It was just like clockwork. It was usually like John and Amy Mack, Mark and Kim Bell, Bob and Sherry Ashley, myself and whoever. Kim and Jeff G. Gosh, probably some people I'm missing in there, but we get a limo, go to dinner, jump in a limo, then we go to strip club, craziness, then, go to some other club. The girls would be dancing and drinking, just fun times, man, all that kind of stuff. And then always back to the hotel bar. And I remember a kid that used to work for Timberline Crickets. I won't even say his name. Most people who know the story will know who it was. Drinking all night, sitting at the bar. I'm sitting next to him. We're just chilling. Everybody just bellied up at the bar and sitting on a chair. And I look over next to me, and this kid's sitting there. He's drinking his beer, and all of a sudden he kind of pushes back from the bar, leans down, pukes right between his feet, puts his head back up, looks over at me. I look at him. I'm like, grabs his beer and just takes another swig and sets it down and just goes right back to it. It's just stupid stuff like that. I mean, there's nothing real crazy, not a Miguel story like that one anyway, but just always fun times. People and my mom and dad are at the shows, and my mom and dad would travel with me back in the day. They're getting a little older now, so they really only do the Tinley show. But Having my parents there and them meeting everybody and getting to know everybody and long term, everyone knows who my parents are now. If you come to Tinley, pretty much everybody knows they're the ones that sell the T-shirts, and it's just been fun, man. It's just, a lot of us grew up together in this industry, and just neat stuff, good times. And, I meet a lot of great people through the store, the show, and it's just been a great life, man. I got a long way to go, at least I hope, but
Right.
It's been great.
I'm jealous, man. You living my life, man. I'm jealous.
What do you do?
I'm a nurse.
Very cool.
Now,
all right, hold
on.
This, so should I get vaccinated or not?
Yeah, you should. You should. Right. I would say you should. I mean,
what if I had the virus?
Yeah, I think you should. I definitely think you should. Is anything to protect you, man. But I would say wait a little longer, but then do it.
All right.
Now, I got to ask this, man. Again, man. Shout out to.
Come on, man. Ask away. All them questions you want to ask, you just ask.
I love that, man. Thank you, man. We're blessed with your presence. I appreciate that. Now, again, we're going to stop the show for a second. Give Kurtwood 75 a shout out. We want to get him to 1,000. Y'all make sure y'all go over there and subscribe to my buddy. Let's get him to 1K, man. He's almost there. Now, I say that to lead into this next question of, he was at your show. He was at Tinley. He was at the show. And he laid out the auctions, man. He told me that they're hilarious. He said if people they just bought something. He told me that you're hilarious in the auctions, man. Tell me about your auction.
Hold on. I got to pour a drink. Give me 1 second.
Take your time. Take your time.
I can do two things at once. Hold on. All right, we're good. Yeah, the auctions are a blast, man. I tell you what, that might be one of the it's kind of a two-part thing, but one of the things I'm most proud of, I think, is the auctions. For twofold reason. One, just reptile-wise, we've raised, I'm going to say close to $2 million at least by now, I would assume, for USARK. Don't quote me on that, but I know we're way over $1 million, and I don't know, by this time we could be over $2 million, but I'm not sure of that. Well, I'll check with Phil, and at some point I'll get that number to you, and you can fact check me on that. But on the second side of that is there's always a human side. Not always, but a lot of the auctions, there's been some type of an incident, whether somebody's sick, somebody died, all kinds of stuff where somebody needed help, a fire, and the industry as a whole. And so I'm not saying that I've done this. Let me be clear about that. We as a industry, as a group that partakes on that Saturday night of that auction, have come together and done amazing things for people. I mean, there's been wet eyes in that room many, many times. I mean, hundreds of people crying, and it's been really powerful stuff, and something that nothing's better than that, man. There's nothing better than like all these people getting together that, share the same passion and also opening up their pockets and putting money towards a cause like that. It's been incredible. Right, are you familiar with it? Are you familiar with any of them, or do you not know what I'm talking about?
I do. I'm familiar with them. I'm learning. I'm new to the reptile hobby, but I'm learning. All my friends put me on you.
Okay, I still want to be talking about this, and you be like, "What in the fuck are you talking about?"
All my friends, they all in the chat. Even Kurt, he put me on you. He said, "This is the guy you need to talk to. He's doing amazing shit." So I know you. I know about it.
Yeah, the auctions have been great, man. It's really it's always a feel good moment. Every Saturday night you do an auction, and people just. My parents are blown away. Like, I grew up, lower middle class. I grew up in Tinley Park. My parents, made, very average money. They had very, very average jobs, and, I never needed anything, but I grew up. So when they come there and they see, we raised $150,000 on a Saturday night, they just can't even believe it. They're blown away by some of the big donations and just how moved the whole room gets and the things that we do as a collective industry for each other. And it's those are the moments, man. It's like nothing better than that.
Right. Now, I got to ask this, man, and not to put a damper on anything, but how has COVID affected you throwing these shows?
Yeah, it's been a bitch.
Yeah.
What do we have? I mean, through all of COVID, what did I do? I think I did 2 Arlington shows, and then we did the one in St. Charles in Missouri, and then we weren't able to have the next one that was scheduled there because we wanted to do 2. We wanted to do a spring and a fall, basically, in the 3 locations. And as a first show, it was, first shows are tough, man. It's hard to get people to understand, hey, this is the first time we're doing this. The public doesn't get it. The vendors don't all come out. It's a tough deal. But I thought we had a really solid first show there, and then COVID shut it down. And then there was nothing. And we had Arlington. We had 2 Arlingtons through COVID, and then that's been about it. Tinley got shut down literally 6 p.m. on Thursday night prior to the Tinley show happening. I mean, it was like I was sitting at Primal Cut Steakhouse. Bob sitting right next to me at the bar, looking up at the TV, had a cocktail in our hands, like, man, what is this guy going to say? And I was like, there's no way he's going to shut everything down. Bam, shuts everything down. It was just like, obviously we had no, it was new territory, man, for the whole country, the whole world. And it happened, and Tinley hasn't happened since. It's like, it's a weird, it'll be special this October. We all get there, we're running around, we're doing setup and looking around at each other going, wow, this is really going to happen. It'll be a super special moment.
Right,
and Schaumburg,
right.
Got Schaumburg. I see somebody said the Schaumburg show wasn't bad. No, Schaumburg was great. Super happy with that. That's going to be twice a year from now on. That show will be in, once a year in Schaumburg. It'll be every July. So that'll be in the middle between the March Tinley and the October Tinley.
Right.
Now, the hotel was beautiful. They treated us well there. Obviously, the vendor count will grow. The door will grow. I'm real excited about that show.
Right. Now, I got to ask this because, like I said, I'm new to the reptile hobby.
Sure.
I've been in the hobby about a year, still kind of learning a little bit. Now, I want to talk about something, and, it's a little controversial. Let me see if it's controversial to you. Hot seat question, man.
Sure.
With you throwing these shows, of course, you want people to buy stuff. You want to sell stuff. You want to sell stuff.
100%.
Now, do you allow, hot seat question, do you allow Morph Market at your shows to set up a booth?
Yeah, no, John's great. Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. The show is it's an industry show. If I do well and all the vendors do well collectively, it will continue. If at any point only the vendors do good and I do terrible, it's over. If I only do good and the vendors do terrible, it's over. It's an airplane with one pilot, and we either crash or we land safely, one or the other. No, I support everybody. I want everybody to do well. I mean, 100%. I'm looking for everyone to kill it.
Right. Y'all hear that? He said 2 Titans, and he don't even care. Come on, you still welcome.
No, John's great. What he did with Morph Market's incredible. It was obviously needed. He much like NARBC, I think he moved in when there was a niche that was available and needed, and he fixed the problem. And what everybody else was doing at the time was weak. It was weak sauce. He moved in and came in like a titan and opened up a site that had not been seen before, and obviously you see the success of it, obviously.
Right. Well, let me tell you something. Y'all both titans, and I love that you like. No, I ain't scared. Come to the show. Do what you got to do. I love that.
He's scared of. John's doing incredible. It's a website that's incredible. I love that. Yeah, he was. Like you said, somebody just said he had a booth at Schaumburg. I don't think he'll miss any of the shows. To be honest with you, I think he'll come all the time. I think that's. He understands the benefit of being around the vendors and getting FaceTime, because most vendors have no clue what he looks like, who he is, what he's about, and he can walk up and press some flesh and hang out and, talk and get feedback. And I think it's important for him as well.
Right. Now that we kind of touch bases on the NARBC, I want to talk about your fish shop, man. How did your interest come about that? To where you're like, what, I want to sell stuff for fish tanks. Are you heavily involved in the fish community too?
My business partner, Jeff, runs the fish shop. I kind of stay out of there a little bit. I manage the day-to-days when I'm there, the days he's not there, but that's his baby more or less. He knows more about it. He's had fish tanks. I have not, but I know plenty, but it's just not if him and I are in the shop, we work weekends together. The weekdays we kind of split up. He's running the shop on the weekends when he's there. I enjoy it. We did a couple episodes of Tanked with those guys. The TV show Tanked. We did Jimmy Butler's tank from the Chicago Bulls. We did a Boombox tank that episode. You'll see me on there. We used to maintain Jimmy's tank every week. We were at his house and stuff. That was super fun. Some of this stuff is, it's just a cool experience to be a part of, every week you're at Jimmy Butler's house. You know, you walk in and you're just hanging out, and you go to lunch, and Jimmy's like, "Oh, let's go get something to eat." You know, you went some sushi with Jimmy and hang out and see his crew, and it was a really neat thing to be a part of. The bird store. So how it all kind of happened is going back to the Reptile Haven days. In the same mall that Reptile Haven was the old store that Chris originally owned, which was called Bird Haven. So he went from a bird store to the reptile store early on when nobody thought, you know, could even be a reptile store. And then one of the employees from the reptile shop that I worked with, who's also an Orange County sheriff, opened up Fish Haven. So I sort of saw the concept, and I thought, man, we could own all three stores in one mall, the same as they did, but it'd be one owner, one store. And we did the same thing, and that's kind of how it all came to be.
It's iconic, bro. Iconic shit, man.
So you know, it's like I said, it's just a grind, man. You know, it's there's moments you love it, there's moments you want to kill everybody around you.
Now, with your reptile shop, do you have any future animal acquisitions? You know, just kind of got your eye on stuff that you don't have yet?
Yeah, you know, the funny thing is, the thing that I've been thinking about getting into myself, breeding and just getting set up at the house though for these is Amazon basin emeralds. I've been just tossing around. You go on some of the websites for a couple of the top guys. It's mind blowing what is available in emerald tree boas nowadays. 10 G's, 15 G's a piece. You know, just some amazing emeralds out there, and it's always caught my eye. Just the setups, the way they are, the way they sit in the cages. Just they're like the classy reptile, right? They're like the elegant reptile. I don't know. There's just something about them that I've always found fascinating, and it's something I just keep thinking about really getting into.
Right. I love that, man. Well, we went about 42 minutes. I like to keep it about 30 to 45 minutes. Keep it sweet and short to where we can do it again in the future. I have a couple more questions.
Sure.
Now this is a hot seat question.
Shoot.
What was the last thing you bought for one of your own shows?
The last thing I bought at a show?
Your show.
Lindsay Noble Reptiles. It was let me see if I can get this right, man. I literally have to go back to the page and look at what the hell it is. Walked by the table and I looked over and saw it, and I was like, oh my God, what is that? It's this crazy, God, I'm trying now you got me caught off guard. I'm trying to remember what the hell it was. Shit. I'm trying to remember where it is at my place. Obviously I got guys that help me with the collection that do all the work. I kind of point. But it's like a hypo mixed with, it's got like 5 genes in it. It's got like red, all kinds of shit. I don't even remember, honestly. The other thing I bought that was cool, I bought a dirt road from Josh Jackie.
Nice.
He had a really kick-ass dirt road that I walked by, and it was at the St. Louis show last year, the St. Charles show. I went back to Josh. I was like, what the fuck is that? He kind of explained it. I was like, man, I'll take it. It's just crazy looking. So just a couple new additions for the ball python collection. Just, always trying to add a little something in there. And generally what I do with it is I run it through our clown stuff. We produce some really nice clowns, blade clowns, and albino clowns, quite a bit of both. And usually anything I buy, I just run it through the clown stuff and then hold everything back, obviously raise it up, and just try to produce more and more clown and different crazy clown stuff. That's kind of what we do.
Right. Now, man, you're such a big dog in the game, man. You've met everybody. I got to ask this. Is there somebody that you want to meet that you haven't met yet?
That would be some of the Amazon guys. Honestly, Emerald guys, like the Amazon basin Emerald guys. Was it Gary Shavino? I have that right? Gary Shavino?
I heard him.
I feel bad not straight up knowing their name right off the bat, but I know who they are. I follow them on Facebook. Believe me, like a little nerd. I'm on there looking at their shit all the time. Tony Nicolai's guy. I've met him years ago when I was just starting out. Tony always had some amazing stuff. There's a couple more guys.
Right.
But yeah, some of those guys. I want to fly out to their places and really look at how they're setting stuff up and make some purchases, and that's really the way to do it. If you want to, if you want to buy stuff and just fly to somebody's house, check out their stuff, look through it, ask questions, and really get into it.
Right. All right. Well, We got a solid 45 minutes in, man. It was an amazing show. First off, I'm gonna thank you, Mr. Brian, man. You're doing some legendary stuff out there, man. Well loved in the reptile community, man. So again, thank you for coming on my podcast, man. I appreciate you.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate the kind words, man. Thank you very much.
Definitely a fun show, everybody in the chat, man. This was fire. Before I end this show, I want to give shout outs to the reptile community, the part of the reptile community that I'm a part of. First off, shout out to Kurtwood, man. Get him to 1,000 subs. Kurtwood 75. Shout out Iron Dog, My Animal House, Low Lights Exotics, Joe Chaloner. Go check out his Venom Proof cages, Celtic Balls, Wiz Constrictors, J&G Reptiles, Desert Wolf Armory, Reptile Feedings, Cold Blooded Love, Cold-Blooded Monstars, Ball Python Love, J&G Reptiles, just everybody, man. Moon Over Miami, Doug's Monstars, Benjamin Payne, and shout out to my lady, man. I love you. This was an amazing show. I'm getting ready to play us out. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to go backstage, and I'm just tell you thank you one more time. I'm going to play us out. Until next time, man, this is Big Reptile Talk. Peace out, guys.
Thanks, guys.